In today's video, we're going to look at a recent setup, so I can explain that setup plus trigger equals trade entry, and then you manage it. So recently we had a nice pullback in Microsoft on the daily chart, and that cluster actually came in between 172.89 to 173.60. It looks like there was a 618 retracement of one swing, 50% of another, and a 100% projection of another swing. The zone was tested and it held. So then what do? Well, you basically want to go down to a lower time frame chart to look for a trigger against that support. Okay, and if you get the trigger, you take the trade and you define the risk either underneath the low made prior to your buy signal or underneath the low end of the zone, which the low end of this zone was this 172.89 area. Okay, so you had the setup. Next is the trigger. The trigger is just pretty much price activity that tells you that it's worth placing a bet against the zone. Now in this case, you could see where this is where we tested the support. So the trigger that I like to use is just an 834 EMA crossover, and then in the process I also like to see it take out a prior swing high. Okay, so basically it's giving us a shift in pattern from lower lows and lower highs to, potentially higher highs and higher lows. And when we both had the 834 EMA crossover and we took out this prior swing high, that was your signal that you could be a buyer of Microsoft with your stop, again, either underneath here or underneath that zone that I showed you earlier. So now that we've met minimum upside targets, it's really a good idea to ratchet up stops as you go. And let's see, for example, if you want to also use this lower time frame chart for stops, you can use these prior swing lows as far as decisions. Just depends on how tight you want to play it. But know that we have met key targets, and I do also have some resistance to this move potentially next week. That doesn't mean that you should short it, okay? It just means that if you are in on the buy side, it's a really good time to ratchet up stops.